Meristematic tissue. The growth of plants occur only in certain specific regions. This is because of the dividing tissue, also known as the meristematic tissue. Depending on the region where they are present, meristematic tissues are classified as apical meristematic tissues, lateral meristematic tissues, and intercalary meristematic tissues. Apical meristem is present at the growing tips of stems and roots. Its role is to increase the length of the stem and the root. The girth of the stem or root increases due to lateral meristem. Intercalary meristem is found at the base of the leaves or on either side of the node on twigs. The intercalary meristem also helps to increase the length of the plant. Let us find out. The root apical meristem is present at the tip of the root. Take 2 glass jars and fill them with water. Keep 2 onion bulbs and place one on each jar. Observe the growth of the roots for 4 days. On day 4, cut the root tips of the onion bulb in jar 2 by about 1 centimeter. After 2 days, it can be observed that in jar 1, the onion bulb has longer roots than in jar 2. Because meristematic tissue are located on the tip of the roots in the jar 1. In jar 2, the root tip stops growing after removal of its tip. Permanent tissue. After division and redivision, meristematic tissues takes permanent shape, size, and a function, resulting into a permanent tissue. The permanent tissues can be classified into simple permanent tissue and complex permanent tissue. Simple permanent tissues are of 3 types: parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. Simple permanent tissues are composed of cells which are structurally and functionally similar. Thus, these tissues are all made of one type of cells. The complex permanent tissues consist of more than one type of cells. Xylem and phloem are the 2 types of permanent tissues. Simple permanent tissue. Parenchyma. The parenchyma is widely distributed in plant body such as roots, stem leaves, and flowers. Parenchyma cells are living and possess the power of their division. Parenchyma cells are usually loosely packed, having with large intercellular spaces. This tissue provides support to plants and also stores food. Parenchyma in combination with chlorophyll can perform photosynthesis. These types of parenchyma tissues are called as chlorenchyma. In aquatic plants, large air cavities are present in parenchyma to give buoyancy to the plants to help them float. Such type of parenchyma tissues are called as aerenchyma. Important functions of parenchyma are as follows. Parenchyma serves as food storage tissue. These tissues provide support to the plants. The parenchyma of stems and roots also stores nutrients and water. Collenchyma. The cells of collenchyma are located below the epidermis of stem and petiole. The cells of this tissue are living, elongated, and irregularly thickened at the corners. There is a very little intercellular space. It allows easy bending in various plant parts such as leaf and stem without breaking. The main function of the collenchyma is to provide mechanical support to the plant. Sclerenchyma tissue makes the plant hard and stiff. Observe the husk of the coconut plant carefully. The cells of this tissue are dead. They are long and narrow as the walls are thickened due to lignin. These walls are so thick that there is no internal space inside the cell. It gives strength, rigidity, flexibility, and elasticity to the plant body. The sclerenchyma is mainly mechanical and protective in function. Microscopic study of epidermis of leaf. Take a freshly plucked leaf of Rio. Stretch and break it by applying pressure. Remove this peel and keep it in a petri dish filled with water for 5 minutes. Take a glass slide and place peel on it. Put a drop of safranin and gently place cover slip on it. Observing under microscope, the outermost layer of the leaf can be seen. The outermost layer of the leaf is called as epidermis. Small pores are also observed in the epidermis of the leaf. These pores are called as stomata. Stomata are enclosed by two kidney-shaped cells called guard cells. These guards are necessary for exchanging gases with the atmosphere. Complex permanent tissue. Complex tissues are made of more than one type of cells. All these cells coordinate to perform a common function. Xylem and phloem are the examples of complex permanent tissue. Xylem and phloem are conducting tissues and constitute a vascular bundle. These conduction tissues are responsible for the conduction of various substances in the plant, including water and dissolved mineral. Let us discuss more about xylem and phloem. Xylem. Xylem consists of xylem parenchyma, xylem fibers, vessels, and tracheids. Except xylem parenchyma, all other elements are dead cells and have thick lignified walls. The parenchyma stores food and helps in the sideways conduction of water. These dead cells are arranged one on the top of the other, forming a continuous tube. Tracheids are vessel and tubular in structure. They allow to transport water and minerals vertically through them. Xylem fibers are mainly supportive in function. Phloem. Phloem is a tissue responsible for the transport of prepared food materials from leaf to the place where it is used or stored. Phloem is made up of four types of elements. These are sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem fibers, and phloem parenchyma. Except phloem fibers, phloem cells are living cells. Sieve tubes are elongated tubular cells with pores at each end in the cross wall that permit longitudinal flow of materials through them. Companion cells are found next to the sieve tube cells and help in delivery of substances to them. Phloem fibers provide mechanical support to the phloem tissue. Epithelial tissue. When we breathe, we actually feel the movement of our chest. During this time, specialized muscle cells contract and relax. This results in the movement of chest. Animal tissues are of four types. These are epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscle tissue, and nervous tissue. The covering or protective tissues in the animal body are epithelial tissues. Epithelial tissue is either single layer of cells called as simple epithelium or multilayer called as stratified epithelium. The skin which protects the body is also made of squamous epithelium. Simple squamous epithelial cells are extremely thin and flat and form a delicate lining. Cuboidal epithelium forms the lining of kidney tubules and ducts of salivary glands. Columnar epithelium facilitates the movement across the epithelial barrier. Thus, these cells are found in the inner lining of intestine. In the respiratory tract, the columnar epithelial tissue also has cilia. This type of epithelium is called as ciliated columnar epithelium. Glandular epithelium is the membranous tissue made up of the cells that covers all glands in the body. The main function of glandular epithelium is the secretion of fluids into ducts or fluids of the body. Secretion types depend on the location and function of the gland. Connective tissue. Blood flows and transports gases, digested food, hormones, and waste materials to different parts of the body. Thus, blood is called as fluid connective tissue. Blood has a fluid matrix called plasma, in which red blood cells or RBCs, white blood cells or WBCs, and platelets are suspended. It also contains proteins, salts, and hormones. The red blood cells appear red color due to hemoglobin. It transports oxygen to all the tissues of the body. White blood cells. They help in fighting against the invading pathogens. They are of 5 types: neutrophils, basophils, eosinophils, lymphocytes, and monocytes. The platelets perform a very important function that is blood clot formation. Bone is another example of a connective tissue. Bone cells are embedded in a hard matrix that is composed of calcium and phosphorus compounds. Two bones can be connected to each other by another type of connective tissue called the ligament. Similarly, bones and muscles are connected with another type of connective tissue called tendons. Cartilage is another group of connective tissue present in the nose, ear, trachea and larynx. Areolar connective tissue is found between the skin and muscles around the blood vessels. It helps stretching the organs. Fat-storing adipose tissue is found below the skin and between internal organs. The cells of this tissue are filled with fat globules which act as an insulator. Muscular tissue. Muscular tissue is responsible for movement in our body. Muscular tissue consists of elongated cells called as muscle fibers. Muscle tissues are categorized as voluntary muscle and involuntary muscle. The involuntary muscles can be divided as smooth muscle and cardiac muscle. Voluntary muscle is also called as skeletal muscle as it can contract and relax with our will. Under the microscope, these muscles show alternate light and dark bands or striations. The cells of this tissue are long, cylindrical, unbranched and multinucleate. We cannot contract and relax our blood vessel. These muscles act involuntarily without our will. Smooth muscles are found in the iris of the eye, in the bronchi of the lungs, and in alimentary canal, etc. The cells of this tissue are long with pointed ends and uninucleate. They are also called as unstriated muscles. The muscles of the heart contract and relax throughout life. Heart muscle cells are cylindrical, branched and uninucleate. Nerves tissue. The nerves tissue transmits the stimulus from one place to another within the body. The brain, spinal cord and nerves are all composed of nervous tissue. A neuron consists of a cell body with a nucleus and cytoplasm from which long thin hair-like parts arise. A neuron has a single long part called the axon and many short branch parts called dendrites. Nerve impulses allow us to move our muscles when we want to. Tissue. Amoeba is a single-celled organism. It intakes or engulfs its food from its surrounding environment by the help of its pseudopodia. By the process of diffusion, oxygen enters into amoeba through plasma membrane. Similarly, carbon dioxide from amoeba exits to its surrounding environment. In amoeba, a single cell performs all the basic functions. In multicellular organisms such as humans, all basic activities are completed differently. In human beings, during movement, muscle cells contract and relax. Similarly, blood flows to transport oxygen, food, hormones and waste material throughout the body. In plants, a group of cells conduct food and water from one part of the plant to the other parts. Thus, in a multicellular organism, each specialized function are carried out by a different group of cells. Tissue can be defined as a group of cells that are similar in structure and work together to achieve a particular function.